Welcome to the Open Shop Pink Couch. And Steve, we are entitling this episode The Fear Factor.
Ooh.
Because for a lot of retailers, I keep hearing that they're afraid of price. If it's not cheap, they're afraid to go there. How do they overcome that?
Well, usually what we're afraid of is the unknown. And so knowing what's behind the price is the key to getting rid of the fear factor. And the difference between price and value is an important distinction, because if you're able to say to your client, here are all the things that are included in that price, and here's why it's worth paying, then it's much less of a scary topic.
But if they're afraid to even go there because they think it's a big number by which they will lose the client, there's got to be a way to maneuver the conversation in that direction.
Sure, and that's qualifying, right?
Okay.
That's understanding what are the needs of the client, what are their expectations, what are their hopes, what are their dreams, and does the product with that price attached to it fulfill all of those dreams, right? Two things that people want when they come. First of all, nobody comes into a travel agent to save money, right? They're not coming to you to save money, they're coming to you to spend money wisely. And so if you can help them on that journey to understanding why the price is worth it, why it's a good value, then it's not as big of an issue. And the qualifying that goes into that, understanding, first of all, who is this client if it's not someone who you're familiar with? You know, where have they stayed before? How do they like to travel? In what style of accommodation? What types of cruise lines have they gone with before? What types of hotels? Is this a special occasion? Are they celebrating a milestone? Understanding all of those things will really help to break down the barriers. And remember, it's not your money, it's their money.
Yes.
And as long as you're helping them spend it wisely in the most fulfilling way possible, you're doing them the service they came to you to perform.
And don't make the assumption that if they look a certain way, they're not prepared to spend a certain amount.
That's right. And I always use an example of my parents. When
Okay.
I'm talking about travelers, they're not always CEOs, and they're not always doctors, and they're not always attorneys. Sometimes the people who are looking for a seemingly high-priced but very high-value product, like Tauck, for example, sometimes they're the lifelong learners. They're the people who worked very hard, made smart decisions throughout life, and my parents, they're retired educators from New York City. So my dad was a principal, my mom was a teacher, and they lived within their means. They had a nice, modest apartment in New York City, but they saved and they didn't splurge. And now that they're retired, they have pensions. And what do they choose to do with those pensions? They choose to travel well. And when they travel, they want the best. They want the most inclusive experiences. They want access they can't get anywhere else. They want content that no one else can provide them. They want the narrative, and they want to stay in the great hotels where you're in the city center. So all those things that a company like Tauck provides, while they may seem like they have a high price tag, they offer great value for that person who wants the best experience and has earned it.
And really, can you put a price tag on an experience that you will remember your whole life, whatever it is, whether it's going to Everest Base Camp, or whether it's a Tauck River cruise, right?
You can't.
Those memories are valuable and they're worth something. So when agents tell me, you know what, Nina, because they tell me this quite regularly, if I tell them that, I will lose them. And they say they'll go to the next one, then maybe they're not your client. Would you agree with that?
I would absolutely agree. A client who isn't interested in your advice is a client that belongs on the internet. Right? The internet sells people whatever they want. An educated advisor is there to guide people to the right decision. And again, no one returns from holiday going, I wish I would have spent less, as long as they got what they expected, right? And you know, we always say, our CEO, Dan Mahar, says, you can't return a holiday, so you have to get it right. If you buy a shirt and it doesn't fit, you return it. If you buy a holiday and it wasn't everything you dreamed of, you can't return it. You can never get the time back, and you can't get that experience that you were hoping and dreaming about back. So you have to get it right every single time.
You can't return a holiday. That is probably one of the wisest words I've heard, and that's something for all of us, I think, to probably hang on to. You can't return a holiday. Thanks so much,
Absolutely.
Steve. That was great
It
advice.
was my pleasure and an honor to be here on the pink couch,
the pink
finally.
couch.
Thank you so much, Nina.